Hi, Kim.
Hello, everybody. Kimberly Watson Johnson with People's Trust Realty. Today I'm here with a good and trusted friend, Patrick Hand of Trusted Title. We're going to dig in today to see exactly what a title company is and what they do. So here we go, Patrick. Why don't you give my viewers here an idea of what a title company is? What part do you play in the mortgage process? Because
Okay.
when I tell people, hey, we got to get with the title company, they have no idea what I'm talking about. So, floor is yours.
All right, I got it. First off, the word title means ownership. So what we're the main thing that we need to do first, if we receive a purchase contract or if we receive an order for a mortgage refinance,
Okay.
we need to make sure that the owner of the property or the owners of the property are the ones who are actually selling the property, listed on the contract as the sellers.
Okay.
And then if it's a refinance, we need to make sure that the owner or the borrower listed on that order form is actually the owner of the company. We're making sure that ownership is consistent between the documents that we receive and the order form based upon what's and versus what's in the public records. So
Okay.
that's the very first thing we do. We're confirming ownership of the property that we're either selling or refinancing.
Okay. So when I tell my clients, basically, you're making the title company's job is to make sure that the person that's selling them the property is actually the real owners.
Correct. And
Okay. So I'm doing good when I say that.
that's the first thing that we have to do is to
Okay.
make sure that the ownership is consistent and that if Joe Smith owns the property and Mary Williams is trying to sell it,
Okay.
then we obviously have an issue,
Oh, okay.
fraud, or maybe there's a deed that wasn't recorded and that put Mary on title.
Okay.
Maybe there was a probate. Maybe somebody died and she acquired an interest that nobody has accounted for yet. So what we do is once we get the order form, whether it's for a sale or a refinance, we're going to run those names. We're going to run the property, and we're going to determine ownership, mortgages, judgments, liens, taxes, all those things on the property. We're going to confirm, and then we facilitate the transaction.
Okay.
We do everything that the contract. If it's a sale contract, we need to abide by the terms of the contract. Sellers, buyers, sale price, mortgage amount, closing date, who's paying the costs. Is the seller paying some costs and the buyer paying other costs? Is the seller paying all the title charges? Is the buyer paying? Because in Florida, it's not consistent.
Okay.
Certain counties have certain customs.
Uh huh.
Like in Hernando County, most of the time the seller pays,
Okay.
but the contract can be modified. There's provisions in the contract that allow for a box to be checked, as you know, for the buyer to pay, or for the seller to pay some things and the buyer to pay other things. So we have to go by the contract,
Okay.
and that brings me to another issue you and I were talking about, which is attorney-based versus non-attorney-based title
Okay.
companies.
Let me lead into that.
Yeah,
So
go ahead.
we tend to have get questions from people, especially people that are not from Florida, and they say, "Well, I purchased a home before, and we had to go to a attorney. An attorney had to do it in Florida. Do we have to use attorneys?" And I kind of explained we can use an attorney, but in Florida we use title companies.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, kind of give them the gist of why that is, or is that just something particular to Florida?
Florida's different. We have a title company in Louisiana and we have a title company here in Florida,
Okay.
and they're completely different as to how they need to be set up. So let's just focus on Florida. Florida, you can either be an attorney-based title company,
Okay.
which means that you have an attorney who is the head of your company and who is your licensed agent. Because ultimately, what we're doing after we confirm ownership and as part of carrying out the terms of the contract or the
Hmm.
terms of the refinance order,
Okay.
we're issuing title insurance. So we'll get to that part after. But in order to issue title insurance in Florida, you have to have a licensed title agent, which I am in Florida, and we have two other licensed title agents in the office as well. And you have to have a licensed title agency. So the agency needs to be headed or run by an agent, and both of those have to be licensed in Florida.
Okay.
In Florida, that agent in charge does not need to be a lawyer.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
In Louisiana, it does. In New York and other states, that it may be that you do have to be a lawyer to be that agent in charge. Here, as long as you have an active title agent's license, it's a license that's provided by the Florida Department of Insurance.
Okay.
Just like writing automobile insurance or homeowners insurance, we're writing title insurance.
Okay.
So we're title agent, we're insurance agents basically for First American, who is our major underwriter.
Okay.
So that's what we're confirming: ownership, we're confirming liens, we're confirming all those things in order to issue the title policy. And in Florida, you can be attorney based, or you can just be a law firm
Okay.
and you can issue title policies. In our company, we don't have a lawyer in house. And the distinction and the importance of that is it gives us some limitations.
Okay.
So we can operate within the four corners of a contract, and we can practicing law is the phrase that I'm trying to get at. We have to be very careful because we don't have an in-house lawyer as our agent in charge, that we don't practice law.
Okay.
So if there's let's say that ownership comes out and we see that Kim and Mark bought the property as husband and wife,
Okay.
and then Mark dies. Okay. And then well, that's a bad example. Let's say they're not husband and wife.
Okay.
They own the property as tenants in common, and then one of them dies.
Okay.
Then they have to go through probate.
Uh-huh.
For the decedent's interest, the probate action is going to need to be opened, and then ownership of that decedent's interest in the property have to be conveyed to his or her heirs.
Okay.
We can't do that. We can't go in and handle the probate action. We can't go in and handle a divorce action or anything that's incident or ancillary to the title work that we're doing.
Okay.
So we can essentially, quote unquote, practice law within the four corners of the document, this purchase agreement itself.
Okay.
We can prepare documents, we can prepare affidavits, we can prepare everything that needs to be done in order to facilitate that transaction. But we can't do anything outside of the four corners of the contract when it comes to practicing law.
Okay.
If we were attorney based, then we could do all those things. So as far as title work, title insurance, an owner's title policy or a lender's title policy, we can do all that.
Okay.
All the ancillary legal stuff we can't do in house.
Now, explain the difference between a owner's policy and a lender's policy, because people don't really understand what those are. They're just like, oh, well, it's on there and we got to pay for it, but nobody really knows what the difference is. So.
Okay. Very good question. There are two policies. The owner's policy is going to cover the new owner, the purchaser.
Okay.
And the loan policy is going to cover the lender. The owner's policy is only going to cover it doesn't have any cross coverage.
Okay.
So the owner's policy doesn't afford any coverage at all to the lender, and the lender's policy doesn't afford any coverage at all to the owner. What the owner's policy confirms and what it ensures is that the owner is the only owner of the property, that
Okay.
there are no other interests, either individuals or an LLC or a corporation. Nobody else can come forward a week from now, a week after the sale, and say, I own this property,
Okay.
or I own 10% of this property, or I own 50% of this property.
Okay.
If somebody actually does have a valid ownership interest that was hidden in the public records, let's say that there was a forgery 20 years ago, and the person who owned the property that we're dealing with didn't actually sell it. There was a
Okay.
snowbird. They lived in New York. The property was here. Next door neighbor knew that he wasn't coming home for 4 months, so he went and sold the property,
Uh-huh.
forged his name, got a notary and 2 witnesses to participate in the forgery,
Okay.
recorded it, and then goes and gets a mortgage on the property like he's the owner. And then you're the actual owner. You right now sitting here, you think you own the property and you
Correct.
sell it. And then let's say that person whose name was forged dies, and he's got a son.
Uh-huh.
And the son comes forward after you sell the property, and the son says, I own this property. My father never sold this property. This document's a forgery. That would be something that's hidden in the
Okay.
public records because we don't know it's a forgery. Our underwriter doesn't know it's a forgery. Only the people who were involved in the forgery know it's a forgery.
Okay.
Same thing would be if there was a probate action and I had 5 kids and my lawyer only included 4 of them
Okay.
in the probate action for whatever reason. The fifth child comes forward next week and says, I own 20% interest in this property. Same thing. Title insurance is going to cover that type of situation. And that's considered to be hidden because we don't know that the lawyer made a mistake. We didn't know that there was a fifth heir out there that they left out.
Okay.
So the owner's policy covers the new owner, the purchaser of the property, for hidden defects in the ownership history of the property.
Okay.
So things such as forgeries, things such as people missing in probate actions, anything out there that leaves an ownership interest in place that nobody can find. We're running the title search. Our underwriter is confirming, or actually maybe running the title search themselves, preparing the commitment, examining the legality and the validity of all the documents. They make the determination, or we make the determination, that you, Kim, sitting here, you own 100% of the property.
Mm-hmm.
And the public records is clear. We issue a title insurance policy to the purchaser, who's the new owner, ensuring that they are the full 100% legal owner of the property. And if anybody else comes forward from 20 years ago and they have a valid interest in that property and their interest is hidden, they'll make a claim against the insurance, just like a homeowner's insurance claim or a flood claim or an auto claim. They'll make a claim against the policy and they'll say, I own this property. And if the claim is valid, then they're going to pay them to go away.
Oh,
The purchaser's not going to have to give the property back.
That was the question I was getting to, because then people will be like, oh my God, so that means they get my house. Okay, so no.
And it's a one-time premium that's paid for by the seller. Most of the time, we have to read the contract again.
Okay.
But usually it's paid for by the seller. So the sellers are like, why am I paying for that? Well, their seller, when they bought the property, paid for theirs.
Yes.
And then now you're paying for the buyer. So it's paid forward like that usually. Now, so that the owner's policy covers for hidden defects in the ownership history of the property.
Okay.
Some people say, well, aren't you didn't you already run a title search and confirmed that that the seller is the 100% owner of the property? Yes, we did. But if there's something that's hidden,
you don't know
we
about
couldn't
it.
have found it.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what title insurance covers.
Okay.
Errors and omissions insurance would cover us if we make a mistake.
Oh, okay.
If there's an error that we know was missed, or that's a document that's a forgery and we know it's a forgery, or there's some other reason that's just a deed that we missed, then we're at fault and we have errors and omissions insurance to cover that kind of a scenario.
Okay.
But title insurance covers for hidden defects. Lender's policy.
Mm-hmm.
Lenders, every time there's an institutional lender, and a lot of times when there's a private lender, a hard money lender, they're going to require title insurance. It covers for the same thing that the owner's policy covers for, but it also not only just ownership, but also that they're going to be in first lien position.
Oh, okay.
That any other mortgages, any other judgment liens, any other types, federal tax liens, state tax liens, condo association liens, anything like that, any other liens, judgment liens, mortgages, that they are going to be either paid off down to zero balance and released or satisfied in the public records. So we're ensuring that the lender is going to be in first lien position.
Okay.
Or if it's a home equity loan that we're insuring, we're going to ensure that they're in second lien position, because we all know that there's a first mortgage that's already existing and we're not paying it off. We're leaving it there. And this new mortgage that we're insuring is going to be a second loan. So it could be a first loan, but we're insuring their lien position.
Okay.
So if there's a mortgage that's out there, okay, and it was recorded in the wrong county, or it was indexed under a wrong name, or it was just for whatever reason it's hidden, okay, and we can't find it, and then it's turns out that the borrower on that mortgage, whether it's the seller or a previous seller, they're not paying, and that lender, let's say that lender's Regions Bank, they're going to come foreclose.
Okay.
And they're going to find out that there's another mortgage that's ahead of them, and that their interest was not paid off when that property was sold. So they're going to make a claim against the title insurance, and if their claim was hidden, then the title insurance policy will take care of that. If it's something that we missed, then it's on us. So again, it's anything that's hidden. Owner's policy, we're ensuring ownership. We're ensuring that the seller has 100% ownership and that the purchaser is going to acquire 100% ownership. And anything that's hidden, if it creates an interest, then that would make a claim against the policy. lender, we're ensuring that they're in first lien position, and we're also ensuring ownership as well.
Okay.
So we are a title insurance agent. We issue title insurance.
That's good. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, you have my head spinning. So, with all of that, at the end of the day, I guess telling people your job is to make sure the house that they're getting is actually going to be theirs. The people that
Yes.
are selling, it's going to be the ones that actually own the property and they don't
Yep.
have to worry about some. And if they do, our insurance is in place.
We
Okay.
facilitate the whole transaction. So
Okay.
real estate agents, they meet with they get a listing agreement, they got a seller's agent, and they come together and they got a contract.
Correct.
We need to make sure that that transaction happens.
Okay.
So we do everything other than putting a loan together. A lender does that.
Yeah.
The real estate agents are going to be doing all their other things as far as getting inspections done and everything that the contract calls for the agents to do.
Okay.
We need to make sure that whatever the purchase date is, let's say the purchase date is 30 days from now, we need to ensure ownership. We need to ensure the liens against the property. We need to get the survey. We need to get make sure that the appraisal comes back to the lender. We need to make sure that all the loan documents are created. We need to make sure that the loan documents are created consistent with ownership. So if A and B, husband and wife, are on title together, A and B, husband and wife, are going to need to sign the mortgage.
Okay.
So we have to have contact and communication with everybody involved in the process. So if it's a sale, we need to make sure we need to do everything that needs to be done to facilitate that transaction, to make sure that the seller is the owner, and at the end of the day, the buyer is going to be the only owner, and that the lender is going to be the only lender, and there's going to be no other liens ahead of that lender.
Okay, so
Then
what
we
I'm gonna call you is the supervisor of the deal.
Basically,
that is the best way that you are like the supervisor of the deal. You're making sure everybody's part is being taken care of.
right.
So whatever position, whether it's a refinance or a purchase and a seller, that everything just comes together in a timely fashion and everything is done smoothly and correctly.
We make sure that's exactly right. We make sure everything in the contract is carried out in accordance with its terms and also by the date that it needs to be done.
Okay.
Sometimes we get a 2-week contract, so we got to hustle. We got to get the title search, the commitment, the municipal lien search. We got to do everything we got to do. So whatever the title, whatever the closing date is, we need to make sure everything's done before that.
Okay.
And that involves communicating with everybody, realtors, sellers. A lot of times the realtors don't want to give us direct contact to the seller and the buyer, and that's fine as long as the realtor is giving us the information that we need, because we need to get identifying information. Sometimes, we need to get, for purchasers, social security numbers. If the agent doesn't want to give us that person's information to directly contact them, then we get the information from the agent.
Okay.
But yeah, we're issuing title insurance at the end of the day, and in order to do that, we need to follow the contract and facilitate the transaction. Just make sure that the whole transaction it comes together and everybody is doing their part.
Wow.
So we have an important role.
Wow.
We also hold funds. So let's say you you're an agent on a sale contract and there's a $5,000 deposit required.
Oh yeah.
That deposit's going to go into our escrow account. And the escrow account is where we hold other people's money. We can't touch that money. It's non-interest bearing. It goes in the account and it's applied to the sale or the purchase price at the end of the day when we go to closing. So let's say it's a $200,000 sale. They put down a $5,000 deposit. They're going to come to closing with $15,000 extra in cash, and then they're going to get a mortgage for the rest.
Okay.
We need to make sure that all that is handled in accordance with the way it's written in the contract.
Okay.
We got to follow that contract, whatever it says.
So at the end of the day, you guys are necessary.
We are. A lot of people don't know that because
they don't get to see that part.
Right.
Because as agents, we keep them from all of this stuff that's going on in the background. We like to just say, hey, you found a house, happy times, okay.
I know a title company.
You hear about a title company.
Use them.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the agent can't force anybody to use us.
Right.
But we don't really have a lot of contact with the general public. We've tried marketing and stuff like that to the general public, and they're like,
We don't even know what
unless
you are.
they know somebody, they have a family member who runs a title company or owns a title company, who works at a title company. They don't even know what a title company is most of the time.
Right.
I mean, there are people out there who do know. I don't want to
Yeah.
give a blanket.
But that's what these videos are about, because I want people to know there's more to purchasing a home than you got your agent, you got to get a mortgage,
Yeah.
and an inspector, and that's the part that the most people know. Those are the normal parts. Those are the parts you hear of.
Yeah.
Rarely do you hear in the process. Yes, there's a title company, but no one ever really goes into in depth what actually a title company does, what part you play, and so I want people to understand the importance of a title company, and a good title company like you guys, who's going to go to bat for them and do what needs to be done. So that's just, like I said, once again, this is a lot of information, and I know it's intense, but people need to understand that this is what's going on behind the scenes, and you got people like Patrick here, who's like basically in the trenches. I guess that's the only way I can say it, because sometimes these deals are boxing matches, whether people realize that or not. So, is there anything else you want to let people know?
Well, consistent with what you just said, while the seller is going around looking for a prior survey or looking for a prior title policy, or doing the things that your agent is asking you to do, getting all your, if you have heirs or you got probate or whatever, it's getting all the information that we need. While you're doing all that with your agent, and while the buyer is going through the entire process of obtaining the loan,
Right.
and doing everything that the agent, getting those inspections done and all that kind of stuff. While those things are going on, we're right down the middle working simultaneously with the agents and with the lender to make sure that the transaction is going to be completed on time and that everybody is doing what they need to do. Sometimes you have agents who check out and don't get involved, whether it's a listing agent or a selling agent. Sometimes the lenders don't do what they need to do. So we need to, I don't know, I want to say force, but we need to impress upon people, I need this information from you. If I don't get it from you, I can't do this.
Right.
And I need to do this. Most of the time, that's not a problem, but we're just making sure that the transaction happens from all parties.
I like my name for you guys, the supervisor of the transaction.
That's the best way to put
That
it.
is what you guys are doing. You are supervising everything to make sure all points are hit. So at the end of the day, everybody walks away happy, and you have your house, you sold your house, and you're moving on to the next situation.
Yeah.
Okay?
And a little bit, one other thing. The buyer is the owner at the end of the day.
Yes.
Or buyers, plural.
Right.
They're the 100% owner.
Right.
And they have an insurance policy to cover them if that's not the case.
Okay.
Lender is the first position lender or second position, whichever one they want it to be. And they have a title insurance insuring that fact to make sure that if any other ones come before them come up, they're not going to be valid. They're not going to have to pay them any money or give the property back. Okay. We also need to record the documents, the sale documents and the mortgage documents. So once those documents are executed between the seller and the buyer, or between the buyer, borrower, and the lender, those documents are final between those parties.
Okay.
But they're not final as to the rest of the world until they're recorded in the public records where the property is located, in the county where the property is located. So we record the deed, we record the mortgage, we make sure that the seller gets their money, we make sure that if the seller had an existing mortgage, that we pay off that mortgage.
Okay.
If there were taxes that needed to be paid, we pay everything.
Okay.
At the end of the day, the seller gets their net proceeds and everything that's on the settlement statement as to who gets paid what from the buyer's proceed, from the buyer's money that they're putting up. Let's say they put up 200 grand. At the end of the day, the seller gets 150, and all the numbers that are deducted from that 200 to get to the 150 are documented in the settlement statement, and the title company needs to pay all those individuals, either by wire or by check, whatever is dictated when we talk to those people. So we're getting mortgage payoffs, we're getting loan payoffs, we're getting lien payoffs, judgment payoffs, if they exist. Okay. We're making sure that the buyer owns the property, and the lender is the only lender there, and everything that needs to be done to make sure that those two things can be insured, we do.
Okay.
Supervisor.
There you go. That's why you're the supervisor.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Patrick, let everybody know where you're located and how they can reach you. I mean, that way, because this is a lot of intense information, they may have questions. They hopefully will need your services.
I sure hope so.
So go ahead and tell people how they can reach you.
We are, the name of our company is Trusted Title. We have an office at 1337. Is it 133 or 13779? I forgot. 13779 Linden Drive in Spring Hill, Florida. We have the office here, obviously, but I travel wherever I need to go.
Okay.
If it's within 2 or 3 hours from here, I'll go close the loan. We have several clients down in Sarasota, what is it, Palmetto, those
Okay.
areas. I just recently drove down there. They're close. So if you're in Tampa or if you're in Sarasota or you're in Orlando or wherever, and you say, I don't want to go to Spring Hill, you don't have to come to Spring Hill. We'll come to you, or we'll send a notary to you to sign up your documents, depending on what our schedule is and what my availability is. But I like sitting down with people and signing people. It's a great way to meet people. I enjoy that part of it, so I don't have a problem driving to sit down with people and sign them up. You know, it's more than just business. You're helping someone buy a piece of property. You know, their dream, the American dream, own a home. We're making sure that happens, so that at the end of the day, everybody feels good. Hopefully.
Okay.
So we will accommodate you. We'll
Okay.
accommodate everything that's needed.
So we have the address. Now, if they have questions, sometimes people like me, I'm a phone person. They're going to pick up a phone. So where do we reach you at?
Well, first off, our central email address is closings with a plural, CLOSINGS, at trustedtitleagency.net. Make sure it's .net because some people put .com just out of habit, and we don't get it.
Okay.
So a week later, they'll be like, I sent you a contract and I haven't gotten a response from you. And we'll look for it, and so we don't have it, and then they'll resend it, and we'll realize that the email address was wrong.
Okay.
If you send an email and you don't hear back from us within 24 hours, pick up the phone and call 352-610-4302. Don't wait a week or 2 weeks and say you didn't get my email. We respond very promptly to every single email that we get, especially when we first get a contract.
Okay.
There's a whole bunch of things that we're doing as soon as the contract comes in, and then we're going to write back to all the necessary parties. This is what we have. We can confirm, at least preliminarily, ownership, 2 mortgages, taxes are due.
Okay.
So we're going to do that stuff up front and send it back. And if you don't get it right away, something's wrong. We didn't get it, or we got lost in cyberspace, or we were just real big. For some reason, don't be afraid to pick up the phone. I prefer email, but phone rings, we're picking it up.
Still answering.
We're picking it up, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And I'm here every day as one of the owners of the company. So if the answers aren't being given by my manager or anybody else in the office, which is rarely the case, but if it happens. So I'm always available to talk.
Okay.
If the answers are not being provided the way they want them from anybody else in the office.
All right. Well, Patrick, I thank you for your time. We're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Really appreciate it. Thank you for all the information. Wow.
I'm serious. Anybody? There's a lot of information. We have a website. It's not Trusted Title Agency. It's mytrustedtitlecompany.com.
Oh, okay. I like that one. My Trusted Title Company.
We wanted to go with a .com for SEO purposes.
Okay.
It's a little better than .net, I think, on Google.
Uh-huh.
At least that's what the
They
people
tell
who
you.
know a lot more than I do about that kind of stuff. That's what they tell me. So that's why we did it that way. And there's a lot of information on that website. There's also a calculator on that website for agents to use.
Okay.
So if you're a seller or a buyer and you're an agent and you want to see what all the costs are going to be, we have a calculator where you can make that determination and do those calculations yourself. Okay. If you want us to do it, we'll be happy to do it. We just need all the information.
Okay. All right. Well, for today, we kind of busted the brain, but sometimes you got to do that, and that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and say bye-bye for now. Kimberly Watson Johnson with People's Trust Realty, giving you keys to home ownership. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.